and good day! In today's video, we'll dive into how globalization shapes communication, business, and culture. Join our group as we explore this topic and gain new knowledge. Let's get started. For our discussion, we will be talking about the globalization phenomenon, the impact of globalization on communication, appreciating culture and human diversity, conducting business on a global scale, addressing diversity in an ethical manner, and communicating with cultural proficiency. Now, what is globalization? According to Sadikwa 2023, globalization in general is the increased interdependence of the world's economies, which is shown by the movement of information, money, people, and goods across borders. Recently, this has resulted in a few massive global enterprises dominating the worldwide market. Globalization impacts individuals, communities, and institutions by making it easier to obtain goods, services, and raw materials, as well as making it more difficult to travel and reduce costs. It also affects local and regional businesses, organizations, and economies, affecting people, work, and their location. Globalization also influences the formation of regional cultures within communities. National governments, international businesses, and institutions like schools and universities are all impacted by how their nation interprets and recognizes globalization. However, determining the overall influence of globalization is challenging, as outcomes can be seen favorably by proponents while negatively or ineffectively by critics. There is an ongoing debate of whether globalization is beneficial for the entire world. Ashlee L and Lutkiewicz 2023 stated that globalization can be categorized into three types: economic globalization, political globalization, and cultural globalization. Economic globalization involves coordinating financial trade and integrating global markets influenced by multinational enterprises. Political globalization involves countries implementing policies that connect them politically, economically, and culturally. Cultural globalization focuses on how technological and societal factors impact different cultures, such as broader communication, social media, and faster transportation. Some examples of globalization include multinational corporations like McDonald's and Ford Motor Company. As of 2022, McDonald's operated over 40,000 fast food outlets across 118 nations and territories. This includes our country with multiple franchises around Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Another is Ford Motor Company, which also has partnerships with over 1,400 Tier 1 suppliers. It also influenced the response to the COVID-19 outbreak, with countries collaborating to create vaccines and doctors traveling to areas needed. However, some countries impose travel restrictions and close borders to limit traveling from different countries and prevent further virus spread. In the context of the benefits of globalization, Ashlee L and Lutkiewicz 2023 stated that globalization offers numerous benefits to countries, including access to cheaper labor and natural resources, enabling the creation of more affordable products. This shift of capital and employment to areas in need of these resources provides job and investment capital for less developed countries, while more developed countries benefit from cheaper labor and resources. Globalization encourages free trade, lowering taxes and incentives, boosting economic growth and job creation. It also addresses the digital divide, providing developing nations with access to foreign technology and capital, leading to higher prosperity. Advocates emphasize the importance of global human rights and the common understanding of human activity and population impact on the environment. Additionally, globalization promotes mutual understanding between cultures, leading to more collaboration and equilibrium among nations. Ashlee and Lutkevich 2023 also discuss how globalization has been criticized for weakening markets, promoting environmental harm, and reducing living standards. Critics argue that the lack of trade restrictions and increased immigration have led to a shift in labor markets to less expensive ones. The migration of people and products across international borders releases greenhouse gases and airborne pollutants, causing overfishing and deforestation.
According to the article Oratory CDC 2023, globalization greatly impacts communication by enabling the exchange of information across borders, connecting individuals and organizations worldwide. With digital tools like the internet and social media, individuals and businesses can connect, share ideas, and collaborate more easily than ever. One of the impacts of globalization communication channels is the altering of traditional ways of interaction. Digital platforms have replaced traditional communication methods, making instant messaging and video calls, breaking down barriers and fostering greater global interconnectedness. Globalization has not only altered communication methods, but also emphasized the importance of cultural awareness in communication. For modern entrepreneurs and employees, cultural awareness becomes a crucial skill required for effective communicators. Even when people speak the same language, cultural differences can influence communication. For example, in Japanese business culture, it's considered impolite to ask personal questions in an initial meeting, while in the US, sharing information shows warmth and openness. Also, cultural awareness extends beyond speech. Body language like acceptable speaking distances, eye contact, and postures can vary across cultures, as well as the physical expressions of their own culture, and how to address these differences to prepare them for face-to-face meetings with foreign suppliers. And modern training programs now emphasize these skills to improve global communications. Globalization has significantly impacted communication by posing challenges to language barriers. However, the rise of multilingual tools has helped overcome these challenges. Translation technology plays a crucial role in bridging language gaps, enabling individuals and businesses to communicate efficiently across different languages. These tools allow smooth conversations and the exchange of ideas, regardless of linguistic differences. As the world becomes more interconnected, overcoming language barriers with the use of multilingual communication becomes a necessity for achieving success global communication. Globalization has greatly impacted business communication, shaping the way organizations collaborate across borders and time zones. As the world becomes more interconnected, effective global communication strategies are essential for success. Businesses now need to connect with employees, clients, and partners from diverse cultures. This involves breaking down communication barriers and adopting innovative methods. Technologies like video conferences, instant messaging, and project management software have made it possible to overcome geographical distances and collaborate in real time, all thanks to technological advancement that made it possible.
This topic explores the significance of appreciating culture and human diversity and how we can properly address these cultural differences ethically in the context of purposeful communication, as well as investigating how these aspects are essential in both personal and professional situations. Let us first define culture and diversity. Culture shapes how each person views the world, expresses themselves, and interacts with others. It includes and characterizes the values, beliefs, customs, and behaviors shared by a group of people. On the contrary, human diversity refers to the wide range and variety of human experiences and characteristics. as well as race, ethnicity, gender, religion, language, and socioeconomic backgrounds. The role of culture in communication. There are multiple ways culture can affect communication. A few to mention are nonverbal cues, language preferences, and interaction styles. For example, in higher context cultures, mainly in Asia and Middle Eastern countries, most of the communication is complex and implicit, which tends to rely heavily on context. On the other hand, in low context cultures like those in the United States and Western Europe, communication happens to be more direct and explicit. Understanding diversity in communication. In communication, diversity requires an understanding that individuals from different backgrounds may interpret messages in unique ways due to their personal experiences and societal context. Let's start with cultural norms. Distinct communication styles, values, and preferences can exist among different civilizations. For example, one culture's idea of what is suitable or a purchase could not apply to another. Number 2. Language barriers. Misunderstandings might arise due to linguistic disparities. It can be less confusing to use plain, uncomplicated language. Number 3. Nonverbal cues. Nonverbal communication such as gestures, eye contact, and body language varies widely across cultures. Why is it important to appreciate human diversity? While appreciating diversity is important, it goes beyond simply acknowledging differences. It also involves valuing as well as respecting them to ensure that diverse perspectives are recognized. In professional settings, however, such as the workplace, teams that include diverse members outperform teams whose members are of the same background, due to their ability to offer a more broader range of ideas and solutions. What are the challenges in cross-cultural communication? The use of jargon or idiomatic expressions may put non-native speakers out of place due to their unfamiliarity with specific cultural references. With the ability to understand, respect, and adapt in cultural frameworks, or in other words, cultural competence, would prove useful in overcoming challenges where individuals rely on oversimplified ideas of a particular group, which may lead to dismissive and inappropriate interactions. What are strategies for enhancing cross-cultural communication? First is to actively listen. People can become more adept at identifying cultural distinctions that might not be immediately obvious by paying great attention to both verbal and nonverbal signs. Second is cultural sensitivity. It is important to be mindful of the cultural norms and to refrain from using language or acting in ways that could offend someone. Clarity and simplicity. Language barriers can be overcome by keeping communication simple and avoiding colloquial terms. Feedback and clarification. Communicators can ensure understanding and clear up any ambiguity by encouraging feedback. Empathy. By taking into account the experiences and cultural background of the other person, people who practice empathy are able to put themselves in their shoes.
Conducting business on a global scale. In this topic, we will describe behavioral strategies for adopting cultural norms and customs. Cultural adaptation is adjusting and integrating aspects of one's culture with a new culture. This may be behavior, attitude, practice to create a flexible and innovative working environment. Adapting takes time, and the rate of transition varies depending on the person's values. Culture shock refers to uncertainty and confusion when exposed to a new culture. There are 4 stages of culture shock: honeymoon, negotiation, adjustment, and adaptation. Honeymoon phase is the euphoria of discovery that foreshadows challenges within the culture. The negotiation stage alters the excitement with frustration of dealing with reality. In adjustment stage, life gradually develops a more balanced perspective as being met with the familiarity of culture. Adaptation stage is the understanding that the familiarity is sufficient to adopt in a context. Preparation enhances the ability to seek connection. Social support, seek circle and peers who can provide practical insights and motivational support. Personal and physical well-being, taking care of the self to maintain healthy habits that should reduce stress and improve well-being. Mental and emotional readiness, have an open mind and be prepared for challenges. Staying connected, keeping in touch with family and friends. Examples of cultural adaptation: language learning for efficient communication, cultural practice, participating in traditions, festivals, and social customs. Workplace norms, adhering to the professional etiquette, work ethic, and dress code. Daily habits, the adaptation of local eating habits, transportations, and social interactions. Legal compliance, understanding and abiding by the law and regulations. Adapting to work culture. Observation, observe the behaviors of colleagues and how they interact and communicate. Ask questions. Seek an understanding of expectations, procedures, and unwritten rules. Be open-minded. Have an open mind to working methods and be willing to adjust habits. Build relationships. Establish rapport and participate in activities. Seek feedback. Ask for feedback on your performance and interactions to make room for improvement.
Ethical considerations in addressing diversity. First is to respect individuals no matter what their history. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect and decency. To promote inclusion, for instance, one can use language that is inclusive. Stay away from jargon and offer alternate communication forms like subtitles or sign language interpretation. Avoid stereotypes and prejudices. Avoiding generalizations or presumptions about people based only on their socioeconomic background is essential to ethical communication. Next is empathy and active listening. Making sure that all opinions are heard and that concerns are handled inclusively depends heavily on active listening. In diverse groups, this strategy fosters trust and honesty. There are difficulties in communicating variety in an ethical manner, even with the best of intentions. Among the main concerns are implicit bias. Despite our best efforts to be inclusive, we may unintentionally communicate with biases in mind. Maintaining ethical communication requires acknowledging these biases and making an effort to overcome them. Second is cultural and language barriers. Even with careful attention to linguistic variances, cultural misinterpretations can occasionally cause communication to fall down. The third is power imbalances. Communication with heterogeneous groups can be impacted by power dynamics. In talks, some voices might be heard more than others. Being conscious of these disparities and actively fostering avenues for marginalized voices to be heard are essential components of ethical communication. Cultural competence training. People can become more conscious of their prejudices and improve their cross-cultural communication skills by receiving instruction in cultural sensitivity and awareness. Next is creating safe and inclusive spaces. It's critical to set rules in schools and group discussions that promote civil discourse and guarantee that each person has an equal chance to participate. This could entail establishing ground rules for conversation, like not interrupting other people, abstaining from offensive language, and promoting an environment of respect and interest. Next is feedback mechanisms. Finding opportunities for improvement in communication techniques can be facilitated by promoting open and honest feedback. Communicators can adapt their style in real time to better suit the needs of a wide range of audiences thanks to feedback. The use of technology for accessibility. Communication in a variety of contexts can be facilitated by utilizing technology, such as accessible document formats, speech-to-text services, and translation tools. By bridging language and accessibility barriers, these tools offer inclusive communication.
Communicating with cultural proficiency. Cultural proficiency is a professional responsibility that aims to engage with individuals who have culturally distinctive backgrounds that consider their own culture and how it can affect other cultures. Essential elements measure proficiency in values and acts that increase fairness. Assessing cultural knowledge is being aware of how it will be effective in cross-situational situations. Valuing diversity is being inclusive and appreciating differences among groups. Managing the dynamics of differences is viewing conflicts as an effect of cultural differences. Adapting to diversity is the cultural involvement that adopts policies and practices. Institutionalizing cultural knowledge is integrating cultures as a part of learning. Barriers resist nurturing diversity. Resistance to change. People cannot see the benefit of changing policies and practices. Systematic oppression. Sometimes people cannot recognize their privileges. Unawareness of the need to adopt does not recognize the need to change. Misuse of power or the presumption of entitlement. Guiding principles are the underlying core values of issues. Culture is a predominant force in shaping values, norms, and behaviors. People are served in varying degrees by the dominant culture to strive for harmony in the workplace. People have personal identities and group identities, so avoid stereotyping. There is diversity within and between cultures. The unique needs of every culture must be respected. The cultural proficiency continuum is the language to describe healthy and unhealthy values and behaviors.
Cultural destructiveness. The elimination and exclusion of vestigious cultures of an individual.
Cultural incapacity. Belief in the dominance of culture and behavior that disempowers the culture of another. Cultural blindness. Incapable and refusing to acknowledge the differences between other cultures. Cultural precompetence. Awareness of one's limitation in interacting with cultural groups is being aware of unknowns in diverse settings. Cultural competence. Viewing of personal and organizational work as an interactive arrangement in a more diverse setting. Cultural proficiency. Interacting in various cultural environments effectively. Growth in understanding cultural proficiency and long-term learning.
And that's the end of our video. We hope that you have learned something from today's discussion. Thank you and goodbye.